Hey everyone, so welcome to the second and final mission episode, or at least I believe it'll be the final one. I don't think we need to do many more of these missions now to get sort of to the point where we need to be. So, in this episode, I wanted to talk a little bit about the game itself, but first and foremost, what you're seeing is a sped up version of the missions, because to be honest, in the first episode you've already seen what most of these missions are, and to be honest, most of them involve just going around killing something or finding something, so nothing super exciting or story based happens. So we've sped it up a little bit just to so you didn't have to sit through an hour worth. In the meantime, we're going to talk about something really fun, which is what I actually think of this game as a whole, taking each aspect of the game. So from a graphical, story, and all that good stuff from this game. Because at this point, we're ready to record the finale. Now, as I said before, the finale, unfortunately, as you probably guessed, it's blocked by the wonderful large Square Enix. Yeah, anything to make life for the streamer more difficult, right? So I'm having to pull out the jungle of cable again to record it through a laptop or a PC, as I said before. But you don't have to worry about that. We'll worry about that, and we'll get it done for you, one way or the other. And before we get started with the commentary, I want to apologise for the mix-up with all of the scheduling. I'll be honest. A lot's been happening in the last few weeks with illness in the house and different things. So, we're about to go through a massive house renovation in the next few weeks. So, it's been stressful. And obviously recording, I have to do that late at night when everyone's in bed. I have to keep an eye on my son. And, like I said, you don't have to worry about all that. But I just want to apologise. The schedule's been all over the place. Just to give you an idea, if you're watching Alien Isolation, that'll be back tomorrow. I'm going to record an episode after doing this, and then we're going to start uploading it again from Thursday, and then it'll be back to its usual Wednesday slot. That means that this Saturday there will likely be another Alien Isolation to make up for the lost episode, and then we'll be back to normal the following week. So that'll be Mario, Alien Isolation on Wednesday, Mario at some point, and the finale of Crisis Core on the Saturday, and then we are absolutely back to normal after that. So Mario isn't taking over this game. It's its own thing, and I'm just sort of recording that as and when. You'll still get an episode a week, but it won't be a set day. So once this is finished, I've got a new game lined up for this one that'll be taken in the Saturday slot, and then Alien Isolation will return to its Wednesday slot, and it will stay, hopefully, in Wednesday slot. Like I said, last week I just did not have the headspace. Anyway, moving on. You don't have to worry about all that wonderful stuff. So, what do I think of this game? From being a fan of Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy fan in general. Now, graphics, first and foremost. This is an easy one for me. This version of the game looks phenomenal. I always thought the PSP one looked a little goofy, to be honest, and it's hard to relate to characters, their facial expressions and what have you, especially when they are animated Japanese RPG characters, because most JRPG characters don't have the same facial features as a standard human being, so it's very difficult to discern sometimes emotion portrayed through facial expression. And that's even more apparent when you look at games like Crisis Core from the PSP. Now, I did think it did a phenomenal job with the hardware it had. The PSP was a very limited console, or handheld, should I say, for its day, or at least I think it was. And I think it did very well, getting a game of this size and the FMV sequences it had with the summons and yada yada yada. So I think it did okay at the time. I think this version of the game, it's a lot grittier. It's a lot darker. Now that was the big complaint I had with the original, was everything was super bright and super cute. Not so much in this game. There are some dark elements to it, and the contrast is much more apparent. within the game, which I appreciate that. Obviously, being a PS5 title, you'd expect it to have a high dynamic range when it comes to contrast, brightness, and tone. Now, the actual models, I think, look fine. I don't think they quite got the same level of polish as Remake got, I'll be honest. And that was a PS4 title, or at least I played on the PS4. And I didn't think this looked as good. That doesn't mean this game looks bad, because it doesn't. It looks great. Is it a PS5 next-gen title? No. But then we have to remember this is just a HD remake. It's not a full-blown remaster like 7 was. So yeah, graphically, I think it's good. I think, sort of 3.5 out of 5, something like that. And again, I'm providing this commentary just to add a little bit of my thoughts to this as you're sort of watching something that, in my opinion, would be quite bland to watch. But I know, some people like to see everything. So that's why I'm providing a context. So graphically, I think it's fine. I think it certainly looks like a PS5 game. It certainly looks like an update to the original. Is it a next-gen title? No. Does it look like a next-gen title? No. Does it need to? Not really. A lot of people that were playing this through nostalgia. They were playing it because either A, they played the original and they want to see what can be done with it, and B, they didn't get to play it the first time. Maybe they didn't have a PSP and they want to experience it this time. So a lot of it will be through nostalgia. There'll be very few people that have never seen or heard of this game, and they'll go into a store, see it on the shelf and go, "Oh, never heard of that before." I would imagine. So I think most people will be going in with a certain level of nostalgia. Controls, just in general, fine. I've had no issue with the controls. The only slight issue I've had is trying to remember where everything is. Like, for instance, when you're in a battle, you have one button opens up your material menu, and then you have all 8 buttons there. It's like, oh my god, that's a lot to remember, especially when you're in the heat of a real-time battle. But that's not really controls, that's more gameplay, but the controls themselves are fine. Going into the Buster Sword stance, which I'm going to talk a little bit about later, is a bit awkward because you have to press square and X at the same time, which is a bit odd. Especially if you've got sort of janky thumbs like I have. So, I freaking love this attack, by the way, just as an aside. That chocobo kick thing is amazing. So yeah, I think control-wise it's fine. The story, love it. I love the story of this game. I want to commend, actually, the story, because messing with the story of a well-loved canon like Final Fantasy VII has, you got to remember, this game came out way after the original 7. The original 7 was 97, this game was like, I think it was 2003, 2004, I might be a bit off there, but it was later. So, taking an established dynamic like, Zack in the original 7 is considered either missing, nondescript, or just completely avoided. Because realistically, like I said before, unless you go to Gongaga and you talk to Zack's parents, you don't even hear Zack's name. Not really. Like, it comes up a little later, but when Cloud reveals his past, the true past, which is fine, but it's a bit too late by that point to care, if you get my drift. So yeah, taking that element of 7, making a full game out of it and introducing new characters to that is really hard to do. And 7 is like one of those canons you just don't mess with. That's why everyone was so nervous about Remake, because you just don't mess with it. It just isn't done. This game takes 7, opens up his past, meddles with a couple of things here and there, but nothing too major, like adding new characters like Genesis and Geo. Lizard and all the rest of it, and really opens the world up, and it opens your eyes to being inside the Shinra, because obviously from Cloud's point of view in 7, you don't really get much insight into Shinra, not really. So yeah, this game's quite brave to do that, and I love where it goes with it. Like I said, I can't say too much because we haven't seen the finale yet, so but it really opens things up, and it opens your eyes from a different perspective from within Shinra. Obviously, like I said before, you don't get that with Cloud, because Cloud sees things from the outside of Shinra. So, and then obviously you get Avalanche as well from 7, that also see things from outside of Shinra. So, story-wise, I think it's quite brave. Is it a conclusive story? Yes. It starts and concludes quite well, and then it transitions into Cloud's story. So, again, story, 5 out of 5. I'm really happy with what they did. Now, music. I actually am not a massive fan of the soundtrack of this game. I think it's okay. I think it's passable. Is it a Final Fantasy VII soundtrack? No. It takes a lot of themes from 7 and remixes them in a way that I personally don't enjoy. And it's got a certain musical aesthetic that I don't personally enjoy. There's a lot of hip-hoppy R&B style tracks, for instance, and that's not my thing. There's a lot of very harsh piano melodies within Crisis Core. Not a big fan of that either. There's a track in the game which I always personify as the perfect Crisis Core track, and it's a piano track. I can't remember what it's called, but it does this weird scaling thing, and it just, I don't know. There's something about it I'm not a big fan of. It's not my favourite FF soundtrack. Is it a good soundtrack? Yes. Fundamentally and structurally, it's absolutely fine. Is it my favourite? No. I can't associate battle themes with a boss. I can't associate characters to a theme. I can't. For some reason, I can't do it, and that might just be me. And that's what makes doing things like this quite personal, because there are people out there that love this soundtrack. Now, there is a track called The Soldier Way, which I think is phenomenally cool. So there's some tracks within the game that I really, really like, and that I think are actually, they're really fitting to their time within the game. But most of them, I'm a little, I can just sort of tolerate them, or I'll be okay with them. So soundtrack, not a biggie for me. Probably 3 out of 10, maybe 2.5 out of 10. At 5 for me, sorry, not 5 out of 10. Jesus, that's really harsh. But again, there's a lot of personal skew on that. Gameplay in general, now this is a biggie. I cannot stand that DMW system. I'm sorry, I've really tried to get on with it, and I just don't like losing battles because I don't get a limit break when I'm meant to, or because I'm not leveled up when I'm meant to be. I know the leveling system in this game isn't completely random, and I'm very aware there is a hidden XP counter, which makes it more likely to gain levels the higher that XP counter gets to. I'm very aware of all this. I worked all this out back in the original Crisis Core, and I'm 99% sure I'm right. The whole solo style of gameplay, because obviously you only really play with Zack, you don't really have a party, is odd, because most Final Fantasy games have a party system, but then again, most of the games out there don't have a solo story like this one does, so I suppose it fits. But yeah, the DMW, not a fan at all. I'm glad that was scrapped very quickly when it came to other Final Fantasy games, and they didn't have anything like this ever again. Not to my knowledge, at least. It's just far too random. I like to win my battles through skill, not through luck. Now, the combat system in general, I feel, is okay. it's good. It's a lot faster in this version of the game. In the old one, every fight felt like a bit of a slog. You know, it took a while to get going, which is a shame because actually combats in this game are really quick and really easy. You saw me just take down that giant there, that troll, and no problems at all. You know, if you're going to die, you're going to die. If you're going to win, you're going to win, but you're going to do either one quite quickly, which is good. Battles should never take more time than they're welcome for. You know, they should be challenging, but, you know, don't overstay your welcome. Boss fights, that's different, you know. Boss fights tend to be quite involved, and they tend to be quite strategic affairs, and there's no difference with this game. But this is also one of my bigger complaints is, even with bosses, all you're doing is hacking and slashing. I just don't feel like there's a lot of strategy going on. Yes, you can exploit an elemental weakness, that's fine. Yes, you can, you know, exploit certain abilities, but that's the problem. I think, like, since I got that jump materia, this game has been an absolute cakewalk, really. I mean, there's been a couple of deaths here and there, but I haven't really struggled at any point, even during these missions. Like, really, if I've really struggled with a mission, I'll just come back to it later. It's not the end of the world. The materia system as well, because it grows randomly within the DMW, I find that a really tricky system to get my head around and get behind, which is a shame because for the most part the DMW is actually quite fair. Like, you do get limit breaks, you do get bonuses, but it's just so random. But anyway, I got on a tangent. There's a new element with this game that wasn't in the original, and that's the bus sub-proficiency system. I don't get why it's here. I tried to level it up during the missions, and to be honest, I'm not really seeing much improvement. Maybe that's because I didn't put enough time into it, but by the time you get it, it's chapter 6. I just feel like you're over halfway through the game. It's a bit too late to really care about it. And I'm not trying to intentionally bash the game, because do you know what? I've actually really enjoyed playing through it again. And I've actually enjoyed it more this time because there's been improvements. But the bus sub-proficiency system, I don't get. I could be missing something massive, but I just don't care enough to want to get it to 100% or even anywhere near that. I think the highest I get it to here is maybe 3. One thing I do like, though, is the fact that, like I said, the battles are quick, and getting from A to B is generally painless. Like, there's no random battles in Crisis Core, not really. I think a lot of them are preset sort of traps on the floor where you can't see them. But once you enter that area, you're going to fight the same guys. When you start playing these missions, you start realizing this, because it's always the same encounters in always the same place, and they're always the same guys you're facing. So it's pretty obvious. There's like some form of I don't know, precognition. Is that the right word? But yeah, gameplay-wise, it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just very exploitable and makes it a very easy game. Now, RPGs by default aren't difficult games. You know, even the likes of like Dark Souls and what have you. Once you get the idea behind it, it's not difficult. Not really. Like, you can get behind it and work it out, and you can grind and do whatever. This game takes all that away, but yet it's still easy somehow, and very exploitable, which I find odd. But then maybe they made Zack powerful because you're, like I said before, you're not having a party. It's just you. So maybe, I don't know. That's just my opinion. But yeah, the gameplay part of this, okay, I've enjoyed it, and I've enjoyed it more this time. But it's probably one of my least favourite battle systems, I'll be honest. And I don't know, it's very much point A, point B, which is fine. It's just, you know, at least this isn't a 40-hour game, it's more like a 15-hour game, so it works. Putting the whole package together, you know, gameplay and story and characters and God knows what, actually, this is a good game. yeah, I've enjoyed it. Because the story is so strong, the rest of it can get away with kind of skating by. But I don't know, I kind of wish there was more to do. Like, the missions are fine, as I said before, but you're doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. And to be honest, by this point in the game, the rewards are very meaningless. Like, you're getting bits of armour that realistically aren't really doing much for me. Or materia that I just don't care enough about. You know, the game itself is fine. Like I say, it tells a really good story with some really great voice acting. And the graphics are, you know, they're good. They're really good. The gameplay is fine. If you can get behind that DMW system, that's great. You've done something I can't. But I don't want to put out that I haven't enjoyed this game, because I have. I've absolutely loved stepping back into Zack's shoes and exploring, you know, Zack's story. I've really enjoyed it. And also, there's a lot of tactical depth in the sense that you have to pick the right material for the right mission. You know, so there is some depth there. But as I say, overall, yeah, I've enjoyed it. It's been a good experience. We've still got to see the finale, like I said before. And I hope this review doesn't upset anyone. These are just my thoughts, not even really a review. It's just my thoughts. As I said, overall, I've enjoyed it. And it's been a nice way to segue back into FF7. Now, a little note on the future. So, pretty obvious, as I've said before on the channel, we will be covering part 2 of Final Fantasy VII. We're expecting it at the end of this year. Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2 Rebirth. God, that's a mouthful. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play through 7 Remake again myself. I'll do it on normal mode so I can get through it fairly quickly. And I'm going to make some notes of what I want to see in the next part. And obviously what I'm going to also do is review the FF7 original footage that I've got from my playthrough to see what would normally come next. Because obviously, you know, I play that many games, I just forget. You know, as much as I know FF7 well, I just forget. So I'm going to do that and sort of compare it to my notes and see what I'm planning or hoping to see in the future. And hopefully we'll get to see some of that in the next game. We know there's 3 parts. I don't quite know how they're going to fit it all in with 3 parts, but again, Square Enix have surprised me before, so let's see what they do. But as I said before, guys, this was just my thoughts while you were watching these missions. I hope you've enjoyed it, and no more mission videos now, I don't think. I think it's going to be straight to the finale, but as I said before, Alien Isolation, it's not forgotten, don't panic. It's just been very stressful at home. I haven't been able to be in the headspace to record it. So, that will come tomorrow, with a bit of luck. And then it's back to another Alien Isolation on Saturday. And then we're back to normal the week after. So, the week after you'll have Wednesday, you'll have Alien Isolation again. Then you'll have Mario at some point. And then you'll have the Crisis Core finale, hopefully next Saturday. And that should be it, provided I can get it all to record well. So, I hope you've enjoyed this little roundup, this little review. And I hope you agree with some of my thoughts, but if not, that's fine. Hit me up in the comments below and we can have a peaceful discussion about how cool this game is, and also, you know, what makes this game cool and what maybe it can do better. You know, I'm always up for a discussion on that. And as always, it's you know, a lot of these things are personal skews. You know, I'm no professional reviewer, far from it. So, as I say, I hope you've enjoyed me sort of droning on whilst you've been watching this, and as of next week we should be getting somewhere near the back to normal. So, thanks very much, guys. I'll let you watch the rest of the video in peace, and I will see you in the finale coming up in about a week's time. Thanks, guys. Have a really good rest of your day. Bye-bye. and thanks a lot.